coming out with shoulders back and hearts thumping like they've been waiting their whole lives for this stage. True North Strong isn't a slogan tonight, it's a warning label. If they start fast, this place is going to lift.
Canada demand is thinning again, bid depth down near 1103M, while that 0.54 offer stack stays massive, so the favorites rally is getting stuffed at the top of the box. Bosnia's 0.9 support remains a concrete slab, and that keeps upset optionality alive.
IMO, Canada's hosting buzz is off the charts. Give me a quick market open style take. What's the big economic win here, and what's the risk if the team flops early?
Big win is the tourism and infrastructure flywheel. Hotels, transit, telecom, and sponsors all get a clean revenue pop and a branding halo. If Canada exits early, sentiment cools fast, and you're left with stadium debt vibes, like selling jerseys after. We're seeing a tiny rebound in Canada bid depth, but the story's unchanged. A huge 0.54 supply stack keeps capping any breakout. Bosnia's 0.20 offers are thinning though, so if Canada wobbles, that underdog price can jump like a quick counterattack.
Here we go. Anthems rolling, the stadium humming like a giant engine about to turn over, and you can almost taste the nerves in the air. Toronto's lights are blazing, Bosnia and Herzegovina standing tall, and Canada's ready to make this a proper home debut.
Canada's still priced like the favorite, but the bid depth is leaking again, and that 0.54 wall is basically a parked bus, hard to score through. Bosnia's ask depth keeps shrinking, so any momentum swing could gap this market faster than people expect. Now that's a real tell. Canada's ask depth just dropped hard, and the 0.54 wall is finally getting chipped. Less resistance if buyers step in. But bid depth is still sliding, so it's like a team pushing forward without enough midfield cover. Whoa! Bosnia's best ask just got yanked up to 0.99. That's a classic liquidity vacuum, and it screams no one wants to sell here. Meanwhile, Canada bid depth just slipped under 1 LMs, so the favorite's support is softer even if the headline odds haven't moved.
The whole place is on its feet, voices rising like a wave. This is goosebump territory, the kind of moment that makes legs feel lighter and tackles feel sharper. Canada's anthem hits, and you can see it in the players' eyes. This isn't just a match, it's a statement.
That Bosnia offer, still sitting way up at 0.99, is a giant no liquidity warning. One decent buy and the price can sprint like a breakaway. Canada's bid depth keeps bleeding, so the favorite's floor is getting shakier even with that stubborn 0.54 ask overhead.
Oh, listen to that. Toronto's singing like it's one giant choir, and the emotion is spilling right onto the pitch. You can feel the players soaking it in, chest out, eyes locked. This is the kind of anthem that turns a warm-up into a war cry. Oh, that switch of language, like a sudden change of tempo in midfield, it catches you and it lingers. Whatever that line means to you, you can feel the weight of it in the air. And now the only cure is football, pure and loud.
There's the first real crack. Canada just ticked down 2.52, 0.53, and win odds slipped, so the market's marking the favorite lower. Bosnia still has that weird Ryman 99 offer gap, which means if sentiment flips, it'll be a fast, messy repricing, like a scramble in the box.
That last line lands like a drum beat. Hands on hearts, heads up, and the crowd absolutely roaring at home. You can see the adrenaline bubbling now. The anthem's done its job, and this match is ready to spark.
Canada's still the favorite, but the tape's getting heavy. More bears showing up at 0.47, and bid depth keeps thinning, so rallies can stall fast. Bosnia's book is still that odd, missing sellers setup with the offer way up, which is Canada's support keeps eroding, bid depth under 920K, and that top bid size is shrinking, so it won't take much to knock this down a tick. Draw offers are stacking up too, which tells you the crowd's hedging like a team playing for penalties. Bosnia still has that empty sell side.
IMO, Toronto's anthem moment had the crowd roaring, felt like a bell at the opening of trade. Give us your take. Does that kind of home energy translate into early momentum, like a market gap up?
Absolutely, Leo. Crowd energy can spark that first gap-up burst like a strong open on pure sentiment. But if the order book underneath is thin, it fades fast once the first push meets real resistance. Opening whistle isn't the final score.
Absolutely. There's a difference between seeing stars on a screen and feeling their gravity live right in front of you. When the world's best step on the grass, every touch has a little electricity and the crowd starts believing in magic.
Canada's still priced as the favorite, but the support is quietly draining. Bid depth just slid again, so that 0.52 level is starting to look like tired legs late in the match. Meanwhile, the draw book keeps getting heavier. Classic hedge the...
That's the glossy pre-match champagne talk. Meanwhile, down on the turf, it's studs, sweat, and nerves jangling. IMO, that platinum pitch, sounds like a premium ETF, smooth on the brochure, but the real test is what happens after kickoff. IMO, they're selling greatness takes time, like a long-term hold. Give us your quick market-style take while we're waiting for kickoff.
Yeah, that slogan's basically diamond hands, but markets and matches still punish bad entries. If Canada doesn't show early control, that favorite price can drift lower fast, like a hyped IPO that opens strong then leaks. Now that's a real bid. Canada just ticked up 2.53, 0.54, and bid depth jumped hard, so sentiment's flipping back to favored in control. But there's a wall of supply 8.054, so it's like attacking a packed penalty box. You need a clean catalyst to break through.
IMO, these sponsor spots are flying. Quaker, mobile networks, iPhone on us, Lays. Give us the market angle. Who's really paying for this party, and what's the ROI when the whistle blows?
Whoa, liquidity just evaporated across the board. Bid depth collapsed, and the top bid level printing at 0.01 screams pulled orders, not real conviction. In this kind of thin book, one decent market order can swing prices like a counterattack off a slop. And now Canada slipped a tick to 0.52, 0.53 while depth keeps thinning. This is risk-off positioning, traders stepping back until they see the first real move. With bids basically ghosting at 0.01, the spread is the referee here. It's widening and slowing the... Canada's book just got a little healthier on the bid side, depth rebounded, yet price can't lift because there's still supply stacked overhead around 0.54. That's classic possession with no shots. Buyers are back, but they're not breaking the line yet. Canada's still pinned 8.052, but that bid depth just sagged again. Buyers are getting tired of leaning into the same resistance. With that 0.54 ask still looming, it's a game of inches. One missed tackle and you gap lower fast in...
Toronto is absolutely buzzing. This feels like a nation holding its breath, even with Davies missing, because someone else has to grab that spotlight tonight. Canada's got pace and punch up top. Bosnia's got that stubborn spine and a few wild cards. And AMO, this is...
Bosnia just firmed up a tick to 0.20, 0.21. Small move, but it tells you the underdog money is nibbling while Canada stays stuck. Canada's bid depth keeps leaking, so sentiment's shifting from sure thing to manage the lead, and that's when surprises happen. Now both sides are pulling bids, Canada depth down again and Bosnia depth chopped hard, so this is turning into a no one wants to show their hand market. When the book looks this hollow, the next aggressive buyer or seller can move it like a late winner in stoppage time.
Listen to that roar. Toronto's turned into a red tidal wave, and you can feel the players feeding off it like it's oxygen. First little crunching challenge goes in, and Bosnia are saying, not so fast, lads, trying to take the sting out early.
Big tell here. A fresh 219K Canada buy shows up around 0.53, so the bulls are still pressing, but the bid depth keeps sliding. Support is narrower than it looks. Bosnia ticks back down to 0.19, 0.20.
Early set-piece chaos already. Canada chucking it in like a snowball fight, and Bosnia looking a touch rattled in that 6-yard area. Corner coming, and you can feel the crowd leaning forward like they're about to head it in themselves.
Canada finally nudges up a tick to 0.53, 0.54, but notice the bid depth is still thinning. This is a breakout on tired legs. Meanwhile, draw bids just jumped, so the crowd's hedging like a team protecting a 1-0 lead and inviting pressure.
That's proper old school pressure. Bodies around the keeper, elbows tucked in, and the noise cranked to 11. If you're wearing the armband today, you don't whisper, you roar, and Canada are roaring right into Bosnia's goal mouth.
Canada's win prob ticks up to 54%, but the real story is the bid depth bleeding from 140K to 125K. Buyers are advancing, but the bench is empty. Bosnia firming back to 0.20, 0.21 keeps the upset door cracked. So,
oof! That short corner nearly turned into a gift, and David was a whisker away from pouncing. Krapo's playing sweeper-keeper like he's got a library card for the halfway line, and Bosnia finally settle it. Lukic leading the line with Dzeko watching like a hawk.
Canada just got its bid depth back in a hurry, up to about 155k, so that zone 5-3 line has real bodies behind it again. Bosnia is still pinned at 0.21 with lighter bids, which feels like Canada regaining midfield control. Now the question... That's a real momentum shift. Canada bid depth jumps to 190k, while the ask side thins, so buyers are stacking the box and daring sellers to clear it. If 0.54 starts printing, this can run quickly. If it doesn't, it's a classic failed break and we snap back.
Ref's early call looks soft and the crowd's on him. Feels like a volatility spike moment. If this turns into a stop-start whistle fest, how does that change your momentum trade read on Canada's press and Bosnia's counter?
Totally. When the ref turns it into a whistle fest, flow dies and the favorites press loses its compounding edge. That's when the underdog counter and the draw both get time on the clock value, and Canada's momentum trade becomes more of a grind than a sprint. And there it is. Canada's bid depth just cooled from 190k to 149k, while the ask wall rebuilt, so that 0.54 breakout looks less inevitable. Bosnia's bid's firming too, which is like the underdog surviving the first wave and starting to nick possession back.
It's got that something's about to happen feel, hasn't it? Everyone's half a step quicker and the crowd's holding its breath. One loose touch here and it's either a Canada breakaway or Bosnia nicking a cheap one. He's 20 and he's playing like he's got 200 caps, ice in the veins, no panic, just gets it done and moves on. Canada love these young guns and you can feel the belief growing with every smart little intervention down that flank.
Canada just slipped a full tick to 0.52, 0.53, and the bid depth got cut to about 100k. Momentum buyers backed off fast. That's the market saying possession without shots, and it opens the door for draw upset hedging while Canada tries to regroup.
No shock for me. Marsh loves a forward who presses like a taxman and runs channels all day. Oloisi gives you that burst in behind, and against this backline, you can smell the plan. Turn them, chase them, and make them hate every reset. Absolutely. This feels like one of those matches where the bench is the match, fresh legs like a late surge in the market. Start with chaos and pace, then bring on the polish and the killers when the spaces open up.
Canada's still stuck 8-0, 0.52, 0.53, and the bid depth is leaking under 100k. Buyers are getting tired, and that's when markets get jumpy. Bosnia's bid depth perked up a bit, so the scrappy counter narrative is gaining traction even if price hasn't moved yet. Now Canada's bid depth snaps right back to 197k. Buyers just reloaded at 0.52 like a team winning a corner and piling into the box again, but price still won't lift, so until SO53 trades clean, this is support building, not a breakout.
This is where Bosnia's scars become strength. 2 shootouts to get here and they'll fancy their nerve in moments like this, and Canada gifting set pieces is like handing out coupons in your own box. Here comes the delivery, hearts and mouths.
Canada's bid depth fades again to 137k, while Bosnia and the draw both thicken on the bid. Classic risk-off rotation mid-match. Feels like traders are hedging the whistle fest. Less belief in a clean Canada finish, more value in chaos outcomes.
Lukic is making those aerials his personal property. Canada can't let that ball hang up there or it's trouble. And Barbarish on the touchline, poker face and all, looks like a man happy to keep raising the stakes until someone blinks. That's some leap of faith, isn't it? Straight from the pitch to the biggest chair, and he's got them believing. And here's Lukic again, sniffing around like a shark in shallow water. Canada need to tighten up right now.
Canada's support refilled to 183k, but the win price won't budge off bot 0.53. Buyers are showing up, yet nobody's willing to pay up. Bosnia ticked higher on probability, and the spread widened, which screams nervy.
Alistair Johnston down that flank is pure engine, title-winning mentality, never stops, never hides, and Cornelius alongside him, that recovery run is gold dust. That's the kind of defending that keeps you alive when the game starts. Bosnia are reading that press like a book. One little spin, one early ball, and suddenly Canada are chasing shadows. You can feel the nerves in those first touches, and that's when a simple long pass turns into a warning siren.
Canada just ticked down to 0.51, 0.52, while Bosnia ticked up to 0.22, 0.23. Feels like momentum swing and crowd hedging. Can you add the match commentator angle on what kind of in-game shift would cause this kind of odds drift?
Masic wriggles out of trouble, lovely little escape, and Bosnia keep the pulse going. Kadic steps in with that center-back authority, calm on the ball, but you can sense he's ready to crunch if Canada bite.
Canada slipped 0.51, 0.52. Tiny move, but it's the kind that tells you momentum's turning and late longs are getting itchy. Bosnia's bid depth is climbing too, so the underdog money is pressing up the pitch while Canada's defense looks a step slow.
Cornelius nods it on, and all eyes snap to Jonathan David. When you've got a finisher like that, every half chance feels like a loaded dice roll. Canada need those midfield surges to feed him early because he can turn one touch into a headline.
Bosnia is creeping up again, 0.23, 0.24 now, while Canada can't reclaim 0.52 on the bid, so the favorites losing field position. That shrinking Canada bid depth says the dip buyers are getting tired, and if reward 5-1 cracks, it can slide fast like a backline.
Johnston just about keeps it alive down the flank, but you're right, being host doesn't hand you goals, it just hands you pressure. The crowd can lift you like a wave, or it can feel like a weight in your boots when the moment gets tight. Quarterfinals is the sweet spot for decent at a World Cup. Past the chaos into the real heavyweight rounds where every mistake is a siren. If you're confident on the group, then it's about peaking in that first knockout and riding the adrenaline like a runaway train. Yeah, with the expanded field, a quarterfinal run would feel like striking gold, especially if they're pressing like madmen and buying into it. That right side with Johnston and Buchanan is pure electricity. Get Buchanan isolated 1v1 and it's hold your breath.
And just like that, liquidity's back. Canada bid depth rebounds to Wall 151K and Bosnia to Wall 52K, so that empty stadium moment was a head fake. Prices are still pinned 8.51, 0.52 for Canada and 0.
Absolutely. If Buchanan's only seeing the ball in flashes, you're wasting the match winner spark. Keep combining with Johnston, quick give and goes, drag the fullback out, and suddenly that right channel starts looking like a fast lane on deadline day. Lukic with that little touch, and you can feel Demirovic sniffing around trying to get his boots on the steering wheel. If Canada let him turn in that pocket, the tempo flips in a heartbeat and suddenly you're chasing shadows. Doesn't matter if it's the smallest ground on the list, 43,000 can sound like 100,000 when they're on top of you. That temporary stand is bouncing and you can feel the noise squeezing the pitch, making every touch just a little more frantic. Exactly, the crowd's done their part. Red everywhere, lungs burning, the place looks a picture. Now it's on the players to match that energy with a bit of quality because effort without end product is like a firework that never goes off. Cone stepping in with that Serie A polish from Sassuolo. He'll fancy himself to dictate a bit here. And Liam Miller is the kind of runner who can turn one decent pass into panic stations down the flank.
Liquidity just refilled. Canada bid depth back to 156K and Bosnia up to 65K. So that last wobble looks more like traders pulling orders than a real shift in belief. But Canada still can't lift off D0051. Canada pops back to 0.51, 0.52, and the win prob nudges up, but look at that bid depth. Nailed it, Leo. Home pressure is like leverage. It boosts confidence until the first wobble, then every touch feels heavier and mistakes cascade. One card, one bad pass, and the crowd turns into a margin call, forcing rushed decisions.
IMO, set pieces are like dividends, small edges compounding, PL clubs, Arsenal, etc., feasting on them. Do you think this World Cup becomes a set piece market where teams invest in dead ball routines for big returns?
Totally with you, Leo. When open play gets crowded, dead balls become the cleanest alpha, like clipping coupons. Absolutely. Discipline is risk management, and that kind of tackle is the trader hitting market buy in a panic. Now you've got a player on a tightrope, the team drops 5 yards.
There it is, first name in the referee's notebook, and you can't really argue. He's gone in clumsy and paid the tax. Now he's walking a tightrope for the rest of the afternoon, and the attackers will be circling him like it's open season.
That little Canada pop just got sold right back. 0.5, sell 0.51 again, and win prob slips to 51%, so buyers couldn't hold the line. Bid depth is only 106K, meaning this favorite is skating on thin ice. One hard shove, and it's a quick drop.
Alistair, you can feel the panic there. No outlet, no options, and suddenly the ball's a hot potato. That's when mistakes breed chances, and the crowd senses blood like sharks in the water. We got a nailed-on yellow here. Reckless challenge, no debate. Feels like that high-risk trade moment. You lunge, you pay the price. Quick take on how discipline swings momentum?
Market's basically frozen. Canada still 0.51 with win odds stuck at 51%, and the book is lopsided with huge sell walls overhead. That tells you sentiment's cautious. Buyers are nibbling, not committing, like a team passing sideways waiting for a mistake. Canada's still pinned 0.51, but you can see a little more support stepping in, bid depth up to about 113K. Still, that massive overhead supply screams range-bound until a real on-field catalyst breaks the press.
Bosnia are making that delivery a real problem. Canada keep letting the first contact go, and that's like handing over the keys to your own box. Marsh will be fuming at that high line if the second ball drops kindly. One ricochet and it's chaos. Yeah, that late runner is the ghost you never see until it's too late. One step off the shoulder and bang, you're chasing shadows. And with that center back looming like a skyscraper, Canada have to win the first header or they're living on borrowed time. Oh, that little glance is poisonous, just enough to turn it into a scramble, and Canada are suddenly backpedaling in panic. 3 set pieces, 3 Bosnian headers. That's a warning siren blaring. They've got to start owning that airspace. Absolutely, you gift Bosnia the ball, and it's like tossing steak to wolves. They'll pick you apart with one-touch stuff. 12 minutes, and Canada are already coughing it up too often. They need to calm the nerves and play with a bit more respect for possession.
Little momentum fade for Canada. Odds slip to 49% and the price ticks down a cent, even with decent bid support still sitting there. Bosnia's side looks thin on bids and stacked on asks, so this feels like a cautious reset, not a full-blown rout.
Teravai on that right flank is a real spark plug, Wisconsin-born 21, and he's playing like he's got fireworks in his boots. And yeah, keep one eye on that US-Paraguay opener later. That's the kind of kickoff that can shake the whole tournament tree.
Canada's back 250%, but the tape feels heavier. Bid depth drops to 123K while ask depth swells, so rallies may get sold into. It's like the favorites got possession, but Bosnia's parked the bus and the crowd's not paying up for a breakout. This is getting top-heavy. Bosnia and the draw both see bid depth drain hard while ask walls balloon, so liquidity's turning one way and jumpy. Canada's back to 0.5051, but odds dip to 49%. That's the market saying, we'll bet.
Kolesinek's leadership is showing, tucking in, shutting the lane, and now Canada win a corner. Any quick market-style take on how experience stabilizes under pressure?
Absolutely. Veteran leadership is like a big limit order sitting in the book. It absorbs the panic selling and keeps price from gapping on every feint. You're seeing Canada earn set pieces, but Bosnia's shape is the support level. Draw just firmed up a tick to 0.27, 0.28, and that's the market hedging. More nil-nil energy creeping in. Canada's still pinned 0.51 with a chunky ask wall, so until that supply clears, upside feels like running into a packed
Big lads loading the box, you can feel the tension. This is where center backs turn into strikers for 10 seconds. But they've gone short, cheeky, risky, and now it's all about the second ball and a quick whip before Bosnia can reset.
Canada tightens back to 0.49, 0.5e, and bid depth jumps. Buyers are stepping in again, trying to press the advantage. Bosnia's ask wall shrank a lot, so the book's less park the bus than before, but the draw staying firm says nerves are still in the stadium.
Ref just got in the passing lane like a bad trade blocking the breakout. Also, red cards flying this tournament. Any quick take on how volatility spikes when officials become the story?
Totally. When the ref becomes the headline, it's like a surprise rate hike. Spreads widen and everyone reprices in a heartbeat. Red card risk is pure volatility fuel because one whistle flips the whole game state and the market gaps before you can blink.
That delivery had real venom. David was sniffing it in the middle, but Kolesinek read it like a veteran and snuffed the danger. Now Buchanan's on it, and you just feel the tempo rise. One drop of the shoulder and the whole stadium holds its breath.
Draw just ticked down to 0.26, 0.27. Markets shaving the stalemate odds and leaning a touch more toward a winner. Bosnia's bid depth is getting thin like tired legs late in a half, so if Canada presses, that 51% can pop fast.
Muharemovic gets it away, but that back post run has to be there. Buchanan's got to smell that chance. Canada's counter had class and patience, and now Miller whips in a beauty, only for Kolesinek to throw his body in like a brick wall again.
Now we've got a clean Canada bid up to 0.51.52. Momentum buyers are back on the front foot and Bosnia slips to 0.23. But notice the draw snaps back to 0.27.28, so the market's still keeping a safety net under the favorite.
Toronto's usually their fortress, but tonight it's feeling like they've got to pick the lock from the outside. Bosnia looked drilled, compact, and calm. No panic, no gaps, just that nasty sense they're happy to let Canada huff and puff.
Bosnia ticks down to 41%, and that defense under the bid just vanished again. Depth back to roughly 92K, so the lead looks shakier even if the quote hasn't moved. Meanwhile, draw depth is bulking up. Classic market saying, this could finish level as nerves rise.
Rankings mean nothing when you're getting out-muscled and outsmarted in real time, and Bosnia are playing like the higher seed right now. But here's a lifeline. Buchanan wins it, set-piece territory, and Toronto's holding its breath for a spark.
Now that's a real momentum swing. Bosnia's quote slips to 0.40, and bid depth collapses to just 33K. Support got yanked. Canada pops to 31% with a firmer 0.3031, like the underdog just won midfield and the crowd's leaning.
Buchanan versus Kolasinac is like a sports car trying to slip past a bulldozer. Someone's getting rattled. Canada wanted it quick, but now it's set. Eustachio over it, and this delivery has to have teeth.
Bosnia is still leaking, down to 40%, but you can see buyers trying to rebuild the floor with bid depth back near 70K. Canada holds 31%, and the draw actually softens to 29%, so the market's shifting from stalemate to someone wins. And Canada's getting...
That ball had a bit of shape on it. You can see the idea. Just needed the first touch to bite. Canada are sniffing around now, and sometimes one decent pass is all it takes to flip the momentum. Canada's fortress in Toronto is under siege. Bosnia look organized and physical despite the ranking gap. We've got a stoppage after that scramble. Feels like a market dip moment. Do you see Canada bouncing back or Bosnia managing this lead like a safe asset?
Totally see that. Bosnia is playing like a value stock with strong cash flows, organized, physical, and happy to grind. But the tape's been favoring Canada lately, and if that stoppage breaks Bosnia's rhythm, you can get a quick risk-on bounce like a counterattack goal. That bounce just got sold. Canada slips back to 30%, and Bosnia nudges up to 41%, but the real tell is Bosnia bid depth collapsing to about 31K. That's a lead on the scoreboard with no defenders behind it. One sharp move, and this price can gap fast.
That little slip pass was pure danger. Canada finally found a seam, and Bosnia had to throw bodies at it. And Muharemovic is letting the ref know exactly what he thinks of it, trying to slow the tempo before this turns into a wave. Ooh, that's better. Johnston with the little glance, and Buchanan nearly pounces like a striker sniffing blood. Corner kick now, and this is where Canada can turn pressure into profit if they attack it with conviction.
Big swing. Bosnia gets marked down hard to 37% with the spread resetting 8.37 to 0.38, while Canada jumps to 33%. That's a clear momentum flip. And notice Tubu piling into bearish Bosnia. That's like fading the favorite right as they're Bosnia claws back to 39%, but it's not conviction. Bid depth is still thin at 34K, while Canada's book is sturdier near 89K. Feels like Bosnia's up a goal, but parking the bus with a shaky backline. One Canada push, and the odds can swing again.
Imo, that's a textbook shove in the back, and then he boots the ball away. Ref's got a disciplined decision here. Feels like the market when a stock ignores bad news. Do you see a yellow coming, or is he letting it run?
Yeah, that's the kind of little infraction that can flip sentiment fast. One yellow and Bosnia's safe asset premium evaporates. If the ref plays advantage, it's like the market shrugging off headlines and letting Canada's momentum trade keep running.
Ref's losing control here. Clear shove on Jonathan David, and then the ball kicked away. That's textbook yellow. Feels like letting it go now could inflate the volatility of this match. What's your take on managing risk when officials hesitate? Ref's losing control here. Clear shove on David, and then the ball kicked away with no yellow. Feels like market regulation failing in real time. Give us your take on how games spiral when officials don't enforce early. Ref's losing control here, pushing the back, ball kicked away, no yellow. Feels like a market with no circuit breakers. What happens when discipline disappears?
Bosnia's bid depth just jumped over 100K while Canada's thinned out. Money's leaning Bosnia even if the headline odds barely budge. That's classic strong hands stepping in, and Canada backers 80.53, 0.54 are suddenly playing defense. Bosnia still holding that 0.39, 0.40 line with close to 100K bid depth. Buyers are camped out like a team protecting the midfield. Canada's depth bounced a bit, but the big earlier longs up 8, so 0.53, 0.54 are underwater. So any rally...
IMO, refs losing control, pushing the back, ball kicked away, no yellow. Feels like a market with no circuit breakers, one bad call and volatility spikes. How do you see discipline affecting momentum here?
Bosnia ticks up to 40% even as bid depth drops hard. This is more price drift than conviction, like a team edging ahead on possession but not creating chances. With Canada and the draw both sitting side 0.31, the market's basically braced. Now Bosnia's bid depth snaps back near 93k. Nailed it. Bosnia's trading like a defensive value stock. Kill the clock, shrink volatility, and force Canada into low-quality shots. In market terms, possession without catalyst is just churn, until Canada lands a real earnings beat moment.
IMO, this ref's letting a lot go and Bosnia are managing the game like a blue chip. Slow it down, win every duel, protect the lead. Canada have possession but no penetration. What's your take on momentum and game management like a market trend?
Bosnia's support just got louder. Bid depth up to 112k while price holds 0.39, 0.40. That's real defense in the book. But look at those massive ask stacks across all outcomes. Liquidity's thick, so it'll take a genuine goal event to punch through.
IMO, Canada just carved out a huge chance and fluffed it. Momentum swinging but no end product. Feels like a market rally with no volume. What do you make of teams dominating possession but failing to convert?
Exactly. Pretty possession without a finish is a low volume bounce. Looks exciting on the chart, but it doesn't change the trend. Miss a sitter and you often see the other side's odds firm up because the market prices in they had their chance. We're finally seeing Bosnia leak a bit, down to 38%, and the spread shifts to 0.38, 0.39, as Canada's bid depth jumps to 80k. That's momentum money stepping in, but with those giant ask walls overhead, buyers still need a clean break. That's a real shift. Bosnia's price ticks down to 0.37, 0.38, and their bid depth collapses to 61k. Support's getting pulled. Canada's creeping up to 31.32, but with 1.6 marks of Bosnia offers, sellers are still parking the bus in front of.
Canada are knocking now. You can feel the stadium inhale every time that ball goes wide. Two big looks for the front men, and they fluff their lines. Keep it low, keep it nasty, make those center halves turn. Bosnia are brave in the box, but one clean, quick move. Buchanan's in a proper arm wrestle out there. Kolasinac is clinging on like a bad suit, and it's killing Canada's spark. That long throw causes a little tremor, though, and now a corner. This is where you make the big lads earn their dinner.
Bosnia's win line is getting hit. Bid depth down to just 25k, while Canada's edging up to 0.32, 0.33. That's momentum rotating hard, but the draw is still sticky at 30%, so the market's basically saying pressure, yes, equalizer, not yet. Bosnia just found its footing again. Bid depth snaps back to 113k and the price reclaims 0.38k, 0.39, while Canada slips back to 0.31, so on 0.32. This is Bosnia holding the lead on points, still 0.38, 0.39 with nearly 98k of bids, while Canada can't lift off 0.13.32. The draw bid depth is chunky too, so traders are basically hedging like it's a tight second half with nerves creeping in. Bosnia ticks up to 0.39, 0.40, but look at that bid depth, down to 43k, so this feels more like a thin liquidity pop than real conviction. Canada and the draw are basically level 80, 0.30, 0.31, which screams coin flip nerve.
That corner breaks, and suddenly Bosnia are sprinting into acres. Thank goodness Laria reads it and slams the door. And Amo, that 3 points is a stock surge logic fits perfectly here. Lose your opener and the whole portfolio confident. That's the difference right there. One set piece, one blink, and Bosnia cash in with a killer header. Canada have had their looks, but Bosnia's chance had teeth, and it's got them purring with confidence right now. It really is. This place is buzzing like a cup final. Every touch getting a roar. You can feel the nerves and the hope mixing in the air. One big moment, and the whole stadium's going to erupt.
Bosnia's pop just got validated a bit. Bid depth rebounds to 92k and the spread tightens back to 0.38, 0.39, so there's real buying behind it now. Canada's still pinned 8, 0.30, 0.31, and with the draw basically the same, this market's saying,
oh, it's definitely warmer than Wales. This is heat you can't hide from. It sticks to you like a tight marker. And Ryan Reynolds backing the team in red every time. That's not fandom. That's a superhero origin story for the kit man.
Now that's a real swing. Bosnia firms up at 0.39 with bid depth jumping to 131k, while Canada leaks to 0.29.3. Money's rotating away fast. Feels like Canada just conceded a sloppy goal and everyone's scrambling to hedge through the draw.
Cornelius and Miller trying to build it, and here comes Kone. Silky little touches, hips swiveling. He's got that street football balance. If he can wriggle past the first challenge, Canada might finally get some oxygen in this attack. Kone skips the first hurdle, but Tahirovic leaves a little sting in the tackle, and Bosnia snap it up. Suddenly, Canada's move is dead. Throw in Bosnia, and you can feel them happy to slow the rhythm and squeeze the life out of this spell.
Whoa, Bosnia is still priced strong at 0.399, but the bid depth just collapsed to 40k, so that support is suddenly paper thin. Canada's not catching a bid either, 0.29, 0.30, which tells you liquidity is backing away.
Midnight wrap with that lineup sounds like a highlight reel with punchlines. I'm tuning in. But back here, Miller nearly gets in. Dinesh stands him up, and now Kone swings it in. This could get tasty in the box.
We're seeing a little stability return. Bosnia bid depth bounces to about 58k, but it's still nowhere near that earlier 130k muscle, so the lead feels fragile. Canada ticks back to 0.30, 0.31.
Big Lukic is throwing his body around like a battering ram. He'll need an ice bath and a nap after this. Dinesh scrambles across. There's a nick on it, and the crowd's pleading for that corner. Referee's got a big decision to make here. IMO. Canada's got that market rally momentum, pressure building, chances coming. When a team's on top like this, it feels like a breakout candle. Do you buy the surge or expect a pullback before halftime?
I hear you, Leo. Momentum's there, but the tape's not confirming it yet, with Canada still stuck around 0.30 and no real depth surge. This feels like lots of possession, few shots on target. I'd respect a quick pullback before any clean breakout. Big tell here. Bosnia's quote slips to 0.37, 0.39, and bid depth dries up to 30k. Support's getting yanked, even if the headline win prob says Giroud's 40%. Canada's holding 0.30, 0.31 with steadier depth, so momentum's...
Bodies everywhere in that 6-yard area, pure chaos territory. Kolasinac throws himself at it and thinks he's bought a breather, but if that flag or whistle doesn't come, he's about to get a nasty surprise. Canada are sniffing blood here. You can't believe the space they found. Someone switched off, and Canada are pouncing like seagulls on chips. That's another one on the board, and suddenly it's raining goals for Canada. Bosnia look like they're chasing shadows now. Eustachia's been the metronome, hasn't he? Every dead ball feels like it's got a postcode on it. When one player's taking them all, you know the team trusts his delivery, and Bosnia are holding their breath every time.
And just like that, Bosnia gets its midfield back, bid depth jumps to 93k, and Canada slips to 0.29, 0.30, so that earlier Canadian push got stuffed. Draw liquidity also thickens, which screams uncertainty rising and keeps this match...
Cornelius just can't quite climb to it, and Onalashi's arriving like a late train, close but not clean. I like the outswinger. It drags defenders into awkward headers, and Bosnia haven't looked totally comfy under it, even if they've survived so far. There he is. Buchanan finally gets a touch, and instantly you feel the tempo jump. More direct, more bite, and the defender has to dig in like it's a last-ditch tackle on a wet pitch. Give him a yard and he'll dance through.
That Bosnia bid depth spike was a head fake. Now it collapses back to 25k, and the price slips to 0.37, 0.38. So buyers aren't staying on the pitch. Canada steadies AT030 or 0.31 with stronger depth, and that's...
Absolutely. Corners are like free lottery tickets. You've got to cash one in eventually. Canada are getting the deliveries, getting bodies there. Now it's about that one ruthless contact that turns pressure into a punchline.
Canada's back pressing ticks up to 0.31, 0.32, while Bosnia stays heavy, 8.37, 0.38, with thin bid depth. So the favorites' lead looks more like reputation than real-time flow. Feels like Bosnia's defending deep and hoping for one break, while Canada's... Now the draw is getting bought up to 0.31, 0.32, and that's the market basically saying, this is tighter than the win prob graphics. Bosnia's still priced ahead, but with skinny bids, while Canada's depth holds. Feels like a match drifting into a... Big swing back to Bosnia, price pops to 0.39, 0.40, and bid depth rebounds hard to 74k, while Canada leaks back to 0.29, 0.30. That's momentum trading. One side strings a few passes together and the market chases, but the draw... Bosnia's now got real support behind it. Bid depth up to 85 say and holding 0.39 to 0.40, so that move wasn't just a one candle wonder. Canada's still liquid but stuck 8 0.29, 0.30.
Oof, that was the moment. One clean touch from David, and he's staring the keeper in the eyes, but it just bobbles away from him. Credit to Bosnia's defender, though. He reads the danger and snuffs it out, and suddenly Canada are back to neat little... Clear shirt pull there. Easy whistle. Feels like a cheap foul that can swing momentum like a sudden market dip. You seeing any parallels in how refs markets punish obvious grabs?
Totally. Markets hate the obvious grab just like refs do. Once it's blatant, punishment is automatic and everyone reprices instantly. You see it in order books too. Liquidity pulls, spreads widen, and the crowd overreacts like a team arguing instead of... Canada's bid depth just surged to about 81K while price stays pinned at 0.29 or 0.30. That's buyers stepping in without getting the scoreboard yet. Bosnia is still the front runner on price, but this is like absorbing pressure. Bosnia's support thickens again, bid depth up near 90K while holding 0.39 or 0.40, so the market's leaning their way with more conviction. Canada's depth cooled back down, which feels like a counterattack that fizzled and everyone jogs back into shape.
Ha! That studio's trading like a blue chip portfolio. Everyone polished, everyone loud, and Alexi's volatility index is always through the roof. On the pitch, though, Canada need their wide men to actually bite, and Kone's got to see more of it if they want to move the needle.
Now Canada actually ticks down to 0.28, 0.29. Small move, but it's the kind that triggers nervous stops when sentiment's already shaky. Bosnia's bid depth keeps climbing toward 96A, so the tape's saying control the midfield, while the draw stays sticky as the hedge.
Cornelius slides it into Miller, and you can feel Canada trying to crank the tempo up a notch. Miller's got that little pocket of space. If he turns and drives, Bosnia might finally have to scramble.
That's a real momentum swing. Bosnia ticks up to 0.40, 0.441, and bid depth explodes to 129K, while the ask side thins out like they've pinned Canada in their own box. Canada and the draw both see bid depth collapse.
Yeah, I'm with you. When your winger's got a defender isolated, don't bring a teammate over like an extra chair at a crowded table. If the fullback's run is dragging a marker, brilliant, but if he's clogging the lane, you're stealing Miller's 1v1 moment.
Bosnia is still holding the higher line 8 0.40, 0.1, but that bid depth just cooled from the spike, more like they've eased off the press than scored. Canada slips again to 0.27, 0.28, and with thin support, any bad headline on the pitch could... Bosnia keeps marching the line up, now 0.41, 0.42, with win odds ticking to 42%. That's the market rewarding the team with the ball. Canada's down to 0.26, 0.27, and the bid stack is still light, so any sell pressure... Totally. When the center backs own the air, Canada's rallies get sold at the highs like clockwork. That card is the classic momentum foul. It cools the breakout, but it also tells you Bosnia felt the pressure, so volatility stays elevated. We just got a liquidity refill across the board. Canada and the draw bid depth more than doubled, so the market's putting defenders back behind the ball. Bosnia still leads on price at 0.41, 0.42, but with thicker books, the next move likely needs a...
IMO, Bosnia's center backs are winning everything in the air. Canada's attack looks like a stock hitting resistance. And that Tahirovic volley was pure blue sky breakout before the ref slapped Demirovic with a card. Your take on momentum swing? Bosnia's in control, but they've just picked up a needless yellow. Feels like taking on extra risk when you're already up. Give us your risk management take. When does a team's discipline become the market correction?
Yep, that's like levering up late in the game. One sloppy tackle and the whole position gets repriced. Discipline becomes the correction the moment the ref's whistle starts dictating tempo, because then the underdog gets set-piece free options. Liquidity just got pulled. Bid depth collapsed across all three outcomes while prices barely moved, which screams nobody wants to catch a falling knife. Bosnia is still pinned at 0.41, 0.42, but with thin support underneath, the next momentum...
Lukic has been a proper battering ram up top. Bosnia look like they brought a spare tank just in case. And that recovery run there, that's last-ditch, extra gear defending. One slip and Bosnia are in on the break like a knife through butter.
Bosnia just notched up a tick to 0.42, 0.43, and the win odds follow 43%. That's a clean momentum bid. Canada's leaking to 0.25, 0.26, and with big legacy longs up AT 0.53, 0.
Absolutely, those two have been winning everything in the air like they've got magnets in their foreheads, but that delivery had real whip and wicked bend on it. Even the best center halves hate a ball that dances like that.
Bosnia's grinding higher again. 0.44, 0.45, and 45%. That's the market leaning into control like a team pinning you in your own half. Canada's bid depth is basically gone, so any bad touch could gap this lower fast, while the draw just sits there as the no.
4 minutes and you can feel Bosnia trying to squeeze one more twist of the knife before the whistle. That pullback was begging for a finish, but Eustachio read it like a book. McKinnon just couldn't arrive in time with bodies colliding in the danger zone. Barbas won't be losing sleep with Lukic leading the line. He's giving them muscle movement and a real focal point while Checo gets eased back in. And that sprint from the left back, wow, hit the afterburners and slammed the door just as the danger was creeping in.
That Canada bid wall just vanished. Top bid snaps back to a penny level and total depth halves, so that support was a decoy, not a defense. Bosnia holds 0.45, and with liquidity, this jumpy, one clean Bosnia chance could.
It's a proper festival out there. Canada's wearing this occasion like a badge of honor, and you can feel the crowd dragging the team forward. And Ibrahimovic with that little glance at Miller, oh, that's pure street football, a wink and a warning all in one.
Bosnia is still camped at 0.440845 with win odds nudging 45%, but the bigger tell is liquidity drying up again. Bid depth is shrinking across the board. That's a nervous stadium. Prices look calm, yet one headline play and you'll get a sharp, gappy move.
Bosnia are loving the scrap. Nobody's getting an easy afternoon against that backline, that's for sure. But Canada can't keep gifting that space in behind because a second punch and it's ropes time. Still, they've had plenty of the ball and Buchanan's starting to spark.
Bosnia just slipped a cent to 0.43, Tiny move, but it tells you the buyers aren't pressing anymore. Canada's still stuck at 0.24.25 with thin real support, so this feels like a midfield stalemate. Lots of possession, not many shots.
Here we go. Johnston with the long throw, and you can feel the stadium inhale in unison in that wall of red. One good bounce in that box, and it's chaos and stoppage time. Exactly the kind of moment that flips a half on its head.
That's a real momentum swing. Bosnia just got marked down hard to 0.41, 0.42, and the bid depth collapsed, so the favorites losing the crowd. Meanwhile, the draw ticks up to 0.32, 0.33. Classic tight game pricing as traders rotate into the safer.
Johnston absolutely leathered that, and Kolasinac throws himself in the way like a human shield. Bosnia are blocking everything. It's heroic stuff. Corner swings in, Johnson rises, and for a split second, the whole place thinks it's in. Yeah, that's the first real clean contact Cornelius has managed from a dead ball, and it's a little warning flare for Bosnia. If Canada keep landing those deliveries, one of those big center halves is going to make it count.
Bosnia just snapped right back. Bid depth balloons to 164K, and price reclaims 0.4445, so someone stepped in and said, enough. Canada actually leaks 2.23, 0.24, and that's the market admitting the earlier.
It's a free one, and he's got to make the keeper work. No excuses when you're unmarked like that. And there's the whistle. Bosnia still clinging on. Canada with the noise and the ball, but they need that final punch after the break.
Big liquidity surge. Bosnia bid depth jumps to 437K, Canada to 334K with a huge 0.22 bid wall. Draw has heavy 0.30 bid and 0.33 ask. Feels like the crowd just piled in. Can you frame this as momentum psychology shift in match terms? Now we've got real size stepping in. Bosnia bid depth jumps again, and that 0.43 level is stacked like a back four parking the bus. Canada and the draw also see thicker bids, so volatility risk drops, but it also means any breakout needs a genuine catalyst.
Oh, that's a gut punch for Canada. Bosnia nick it, and suddenly the whole script flips before the break. Jesse Marsh will be fuming because Canada have had the territory, but Bosnia have had the killer instinct.
Liquidity's flooding in on the bid side across all three outcomes, but prices aren't moving. Classic big money setting the lines moment. Bosnia still controls the tape 8.04445, while Canada's got a chunky 0.22. Absolutely, that's the kind of one-touch finish that turns a quiet range into a full-on momentum chase. The draw gets sold first, then you'll see Canada offers vanish as late buyers pay up. Classic crowd psychology, like a stadium roar turning into a press.
Ha! If Canada want deluxe, they need their finishing plated properly. Less garnish, more bite in the box. And those chips? Start with quality potatoes, hot oil, and a sprinkle of confidence. Right now, Canada's missing that last seasoning.
We're seeing a tiny fade in Bosnia's implied odds, but the price won't budge off so for 0.45. This is a stalemate with both sides leaning on the book. Canada's bid wall 80.22 keeps getting reinforced, so bears.
Ha! The ads are flying in like crosses. Everyone wants a piece of the World Cup pie. But here we go, set piece time again, and this is where Canada can turn the whole mood in one swing of the boot. That goal's like a breakout candle. One strike and the whole market sentiment flips. Watch the money rush off the draw and into Canada. Momentum traders piling in after that emotional surge.
There it is. Canada just ticked up a cent on both sides, and that's the first sign the breakout talk is turning into actual tape action. But Bosnia hasn't blinked at 0.44.45, so this is more a quick counterattack than a full momentum reversal. Yet.
Yeah, and that too loud is usually just too proud to people who aren't used to the joy. Football's a heartbeat sport, and Latino fans bring drums, songs, and soul that can lift a team like a tidal wave. Keep it loud. Stadiums were built for it.
Bosnia just slipped a tick, and more importantly, bid depth got yanked. Someone pulled liquidity like a defender, stepping up and leaving space behind. Canada's holding its higher bid, so the pressure's shifting. If Bosnia can't reload that 43 wall, you'll see a faster reprice.
That's a transfer window pitch if I've ever heard one. 4 signings for nothing. The fans would riot with joy. But back on the grass, you can't buy momentum like that. You earn it with one brave run, one crunching tackle, one moment of magic. That's value pricing, like a club scooping 4 starters on free transfers. IMO's ears are perking up somewhere, but on this pitch, the only line that matters is the back line holding firm, because one slip and it's chaos.
Bosnia's probability is leaking to 43%, even though the spread's steady, so sentiment's softening under the surface. Canada's book looks healthier with that 0.23 top bid stacking up, like they've won midfield control and are pinning Bosnia back. Canada's the story here. That 0.25 offer is now stacked like a parked bus, nearly 1 million shares, so upside gets capped unless buyers bring real firepower. Bosnia is still steady 80.43.44, so we're in a tug of war, not a... Draw money just stepped up. Best bid to sell is 0.31 and bid depth jumped hard. So traders are hedging like they're protecting A11 late in the match. Canada's still pinned under that huge 0.25 sell wall. And Bosnia stays calm, so the market's basically saying stalemate. Canada just lost a chunk of support. Bid depth slid and that top bid dropped back to 0.22. So the buyers are backing off after the early push. Meanwhile, Bosnia's liquidity actually firmed up, and with the draw still well bid, this feels like the market... Canada's win prob just dipped and the sell side got heavier, nearly 2 million on the ask, so rallies are getting sold like clockwork. Draw is still the clean hedge with that 0.31 bid holding, while Bosnia stays anchored 80.4.
IMO, they just rattled off a Verizon Wells Fargo ad blitz. 4 phones for $0 and $25 per line plus 2% cash back. Give us the market spin in one breath while we keep an eye on that Bosnia-Canada tension.
Yeah, Leo, that ad blitz screams price war. Great for subscriber momentum, but it squeezes margins. Classic offense that leaves the backline exposed. And that 2% cashback push is Wells playing for sticky spend, but it's a tight game if credit losses tick up. Bosnia just got a real bid. Top level swelled to 853k shares, so the favorites' floor looks sturdier, and that 0.43 line is getting defended. Canada's still trapped under the 0.25 sell wall, so any pop feels like a quick counterattack, not sustained possession.
IMO, we just got hit with a full-on ad break mashup. Verizon free phones, Wells Fargo 2% cash back, then straight into Bosnia 1-0 Canada highlights. Give me your quick take on the best deal of the season hype versus real value, like a transfer market analogy.
Totally, Leo. Best deal of the season is like a flashy deadline day signing. Great headline, but the contract terms decide if it's value or cap trouble. Verizon's promos can buy momentum at the cost of margin, and Wells' cashback is only a win if credit.
That's the front row of football life, where rival mates talk big, then choke on it when the net ripples, treated like family, beer in hand, hearts in mouths. And one moment of brilliance turns that seat into a bouncing trampoline.
Bosnia is still being propped up, bid depth is steady, and that 43 level is packed. So the market's treating them like the side protecting a one-goal lead. Canada's got a thick 0.25 offer again, meaning any comeback bid runs into a wall of sellers fast.
Waymo claims statistically 10 times safer. Sounds like a bold KPI. How do you read that kind of safety metric in market terms, and does it move the needle for investors?
Whoa. Bosnia's top bid just fell off a cliff to WOW01. That's like the defense stepping up and suddenly nobody's tracking runners. Price is still 0.43, 0.44, but the real support looks pulled, so downside air pocket risk just jumped.
He's talking inner ninja and loving the colorway. Sounds like a product pitch. Any quick take on how these flashy collabs and branding moves actually move the needle, like a stock popping off a clean volley?
Yeah, Leo, collabs are the clean volley. Great for a quick pop in attention and sell-through, but the stock only holds if it turns into repeat demand and pricing power. Otherwise, it's a one-week highlight reel and then back to fundamentals.
America's calling, and the bandwagon's got no brakes. Hop on, pick a badge, and scream like you've supported them since birth. And if your team gets knocked out, no shame. Just transfer allegiances faster than a deadline day deal. Here we go. Strap in, because this is the moment the noise turns into electricity. One touch, one burst, and suddenly the whole pitch feels like it's tilting toward goal. Let's see who blinks first.
Now, Canada's bid depth is building while the ask just got yanked up to 0.99. Classic thin liquidity move that can spark a quick squeeze if buyers press. Bosnia is still showing that fake-looking 0.01 support. So if momentum...
That's a proper chant that built like a center back and running like a winger. The Tacoma's got that never say die engine. Feel the beat, because if it had studs on, it'd be bombing down the touchline all match. Low APR on the Tundra. Give us the quick market read. Is this smart financing or a trap for the unwary? And what does it say about demand right now?
Yeah, Leo, low APR is the dealer's pressing high move. Smart if it pulls buyers forward without cutting sticker prices. But if it's masking soft demand, margins take the hit later, and that's when the tape turns on you.
Nissan's pitching tested and trusted. How much does that kind of fan-driven marketing actually move the needle on sales and margins, especially versus Toyota's resale value flex?
It helps on the margins at the edges. Brand trust lowers the risk premium buyers feel, so incentives don't have to do all the work. But Toyota's resale value story is like a trophy cabinet. It's hard data, and it keeps pricing power in the starting 11. We're seeing a tiny drift against Canada. Win prob down to 24%, and that 0.22 bid stack thinned, so the support line's getting tested. Bosnia's still glued to 0.43, 0.44, with the 0.44 wall even bigger, so it's a... Now that's a real tick. Bosnia just slipped a cent to 0.42, 0.43, but the big sell wall is still lurking up at 0.44, like a keeper refusing to come off his line. Canada's support firmed with top bids up at 0.24, so the underdog money's still showing.
They're throwing around 0% APR like it's a free kick on the edge of the box. How big a deal is that in this market, and what's the catch for buyers?
Totally. Leo. The 0% APR is the flashy set piece that gets the crowd up, and it can move units fast when rates are the real opponent. The catch is it's usually baked into price, trims, or shorter terms, and the automaker eats margin. Bosnia's bid depth just leaked again, so that SOI 42 support looks a bit more like wet turf than concrete. Canada's still steady 0.24, 0.25, but with that SOI 9 offer tower, this stays a low liquidity match until someone commits real. Bosnia's win prob finally ticks down to 42% while the ask side swells. More defenders piling into that 3.44 area, so rallies get smothered. Canada's price is unchanged, but the market's basically saying no conviction, like a team passing sideways waiting for a mistake. Canada just got a real bid. Top level ATR 0.24 balloons to over 1 million shares, and total bid depth jumps. That's buyer stepping into the tackle. Bosnia holds 0.42, 0.43, but with that 0.4 supply still heavy, upside looks capped.
I love that energy. This is not a sightseeing tour. This is a statement night. If the U.S. can ride that opener streak and land the first punch, the whole stadium turns into a wave pushing them forward, and that debut goal vibe, that's how tournaments catch fire.
Bosnia's bid depth is creeping back up, but it's still a one-way street on the offer side. 0.44 remains the brick wall. Canada's bid stack stays thick, 80.24, so downside looks defended. This feels like a cagey midfield.
Oh, that's the moment. One touch to set, and then he lets it fly. The crowd rises like a tidal surge. You can feel the net about to ripple. Did the keeper get a hand to it, or is that screaming past the post?
That's a monster fade on Bosnia. Endless Fate just ups the bearish ticket to 400k, and you can see win prob slip back to 42% as offers thicken. Canada's still pinned 8, 0.24, 0.25, but with that bid wall, it's like parking the bus.
IMO, they're pitching promos like it's a trading floor. 0% APR, win up to 25 hours, stick to the plan. Give us the market read. Is this just noise or smart timing around the big game buzz?
Yeah, Leo, that's smart timing. When the crowd's already loud, promos are the megaphone that pulls in late money and widens the swings. It's like handing out free scarves outside the stadium. Sentiment heats up fast, but it can turn into a stampede on any headline.
All right, no fireworks from me, just pure football. The key is discipline. Keep the shape, move it quick, and make that next chance count. If they stick to the plan, the pressure builds without any drama.
Tiny nudge up for both sides. Bosnia back to 43% and Canada to 25%. But prices won't budge because the same walls are still there. Bosnia supply 80.4, Canada demand stacked 80.24. This is classic stalemate football. Lots of possession.
Hey, I hear you. Cameras rolling, keep it clean and keep it moving. Names don't matter right now, it's about respect and focus. Let's get back to the football before this turns into a sideshow. IMO, quick one. This feels like a live production scramble. Do you ride out the last 5 minutes or cut early to protect the brand? Give us your market style risk call in one line.
Ride it out, liquidity and attention peak late, and that's when the best price discovery happens. Cutting early is like subbing off your striker before stoppage time. Safe for optics, but you miss the winning goal. Draw just took a small hit, 31% now, and the tell is that new real offer sitting at 0.33 instead of that goofy 999 placeholder. Bosnia and Canada are still glued to their rails, so the only fresh pressure is traders leaning away from.
Absolutely. Heads up, eyes open, and no hero moves. Get where you're going clean and steady. Yeah, we'll be right here when you're settled.
We're basically back to the same formation. Bosnia dips to 42% as bid depth thins, while Canada stays stapled 80.24, 0.25, with that big home crowd bid still propping it up. Draw firms back to 32%, but the
Louisville, huh? Plans flipping like a last-minute substitution. If you're not going, then lock it in and stop the back and forth because that's how trouble sneaks in. Just stay safe and keep it simple. IMO, he's pushing the just say yes hustle. Give us a quick take on risk versus reward, like a trader deciding whether to chase a late move.
Totally, just say yes is how you end up buying the top in stoppage time because the crowd got loud. Late chases can pay, but the spread and slippage are the hidden defenders, so size it like you're protecting a one-goal lead. Whoa, this book just got pulled like a fake injury timeout. Bosnia's real offer vanished and got replaced by a silly 0.99, and Canada's top bid slid down to 0.22. That's a liquidity air pocket, so any real market order here can move price fast and ugly. Okay, Bosnia's ask snapped back to 0.44, so that earlier's 0.999 was just a phantom quote and the market's reforming. But Canada's still showing that weaker 0.22 top bid level, so the downside cushion is thinner if sellers press. This is a full-on liquidity blackout, top bids collapsing to a penny across Canada, and the draw tells you the real buyers just stepped off the pitch. With offers still stacked, any sell pressure can gap these prices like a counterattack with nobody tracking back. Still seeing that penny bid ghost town under the hood. Headline prices look normal, but the real support is gone, especially on Canada. When the book's this hollow, it's like playing on an icy pitch. One shove and everyone's sliding, so volatility risk is the trade. Draw just ticked up a point to 33%, and that's the market quietly hedging. Less conviction on a clean winner. But the big story hasn't changed. Bids are still paper thin with those 0.01 cliffs, so any momentum swing can turn into a nasty gap. We've got a tiny uptick in both sides. Bosnia to 44% and Canada to 26%. But don't let the scoreboard fool you, the stands are empty. Bid depth is collapsing across all three outcomes. With those .01 trapdoor bids still sitting there, one aggressive seller can send this market. Bosnia bid depth just got cut again, down to about 42K. So that 43 looks more like a painted line than real support. Canada's bids improved a touch, but with the .01 trapdoor still there, this is a market where one bad tackle can decide the whole match.
IMO, this Canada-Bosnia opener's got that one goal changes everything vibe. Host nation under pressure, crowd roaring, and set pieces deciding it. Give me your market take, momentum swings, risk management, and how a team buys the dip after conceding.
Nailed it, Leo. This book is priced like a tight match, but traded like a nervous crowd. Thin bids mean one goal, can gap prices fast. Risk management here is playing defense first. Smaller size, wider limits, because the dip only works if Bosnia's bid depth just refilled back near 97K, so that side .43 line has a bit more muscle now, like a team finally winning second balls. Canada slipped a tick and still looks fragile, so the path of least resistance is a Bosnia grind higher unless that support evaporates again.
Buchanan slinging it in, but Bosnia are eating those headers for breakfast. Every ball into the box just gets swallowed up. Mustakio trying to pull the strings, but Katic just leans on him and says, "Not today, mate."
That Bosnia support just got yanked. Best bid down to 0.39 and bid depth gutted to 30K. Classic keeper spilled it moment, and everyone panics. Canada and the draw barely budge, so this looks like Bosnia-specific selling, not a full match narrative.
We've got a flashpoint here. Both players down, ref waving on the medics, tempers rising. Feels like a market shock moment. One decision could swing momentum and the value of this game instantly.
Absolutely, Leo. This is the VAR moment for the order book. Liquidity pulls back, spreads matter, and the next headline becomes the price. With Bosnia bids already thin, a card or injury update is the kind of catalyst that gaps it like a counterattack. Bosnia is trying to stabilize, bid back to 0 at 40 and depth rebuilt to about 49K, but it's still a shaky backline after that wobble. Canada's probability ticks up and the draw bid firms, so traders are hedging for a scrappy, low-margin game rather than a...
We've got a flashpoint here. Keeper comes flying, both players down, ref rushing in. Feels like a market shock moment. One decision could swing momentum and the whole game narrative.
Yep, that's a straight red or play on candle. Everyone yanks orders and the spread becomes the story. With Bosnia liquidity already patchy, any decision against them could gap the price like a breakaway goal, instantly repricing the whole match.
What a dart in behind. At first glance, you're screaming off, but the assistant keeps it down and suddenly the stadium holds its breath. That's the kind of run that turns a quiet half into absolute chaos in one heartbeat.
Bosnia just reclaimed momentum, back up to 42.43 with bid depth recovering to 65K. So buyers are stepping in like a team settling after a scare. Canada stays pinned 80.250.26, and the draw softens a
Oh, that's a sickening smash. Two bodies arriving at the same postcode at full speed, and you just wince. Fingers crossed he's all right, because when the keeper stays down like that, the whole ground goes quiet in a hurry. We've got a huge VR-style debate. Keeper clatters the attacker, but seems to nick the ball first. No foul? Give us your market reaction take on how refs price that risk in real time.
Totally. Leo, refs price that like a coin flip with asymmetric downside. Players act like it's a red, but the official needs clear and obvious. Markets do the same. Liquidity vanishes, then snaps back hard once the call lands, and late chaser...
Yeah, they're reacting on pure instinct from the stands. No replay, no context, just emotion and noise. Once that big screen catches up, you'll see the mood swing in seconds, either to grudging acceptance or absolute fury.
We're basically in a holding pattern now. Bosnia stays pinned 80.43, 0.44 with big bid support still stacked, so the market's defending that level like a team protecting a one-goal lead. Canada can't lift off 0.23, 0.24, and the draw liquidity is the only place you're seeing Whoa, Bosnia just lost its bid wall, depth collapsing from 6 figures to about 39K, and the price slips back to 0.42, 0.43. That's like a backline stepping up and suddenly nobody's covering the run. If Canada gets...
You're spot on. Once you've seen that replay, it's clean, and credit to the keeper for getting there so bravely to shut the door. Canada have come out with real bite, snapping into duels and breaking lines, but that last pass is the difference between promising and punish. Miller's squaring him up now, trying to light the fuse down that flank, but Dedic has been around the block. He's not biting on the first shimmy. That's a proper little duel brewing. Raw pace versus seasoned street smarts.
Bosnia's support is rebuilding, bid depth back near 59k, and the quote reclaims point 430.44, so that earlier wobble looks more like a quick counterattack than a full collapse. Canada's still stuck 80.23.
Cornelius punches it forward and David peels away, looking for that little pocket. Danger signs if he gets a clean touch. Eustachio's got to be sharp here. One sloppy step and Canada are in behind. Cornet whips it in with real venom. This is the moment where defenders panic and strikers gamble. Canada have to attack that delivery because one clean header and the whole stadium flips on its head.
Bosnia's price softens to 0.42 with a wider spread, but the bigger tell is Canada's bid depth getting gutted, down to about 19k, so there's not much conviction behind that 0.23. Feels like a scrappy midfield battle, lots of noise, but nobody willing to commit size. Bosnia's back pressing, UO 4 worry 45 and win prob up to 45%, and that bid depth is creeping higher, so buyers are regaining control. Canada's still parked 80230.24 with a softer bid stack, which tells you the comeback trade isn't getting funded.
IMO Bosnia, without their talisman still finding a match winner, feels like a company losing its star CEO, but the bench steps up. How do you see depth and defensive tightness translating to market resilience? If Colney and Eustachio start dictating it, Canada can finally get some rhythm and stop forcing those hopeful balls into traffic. You can see the staff chatting on the touchline. Open play goals don't come from wishes, they come from someone grabbing the game by the collar. Yeah, right now it's been a lot of huffing and puffing without that final spark, like a firework that won't quite light. Cornelius is trying to step in and impose himself, but they need one brave pass or one sharp run to crack this open. Oh, that's a gift of a reset. Refs having none of it, march it back and do it properly. Those little details matter because one rushed restart can turn into a turnover and suddenly you're defending your own box.
Bosnia slips back to 0.43, 0.44, but the key is bid depth refilling to 57k. Buyers showed up again after that scare. Canada's quote actually ticks down to 0.22, 0.23 while the draw creeps up. So the market's basically saying if
IMO, that Kolasinac goal line rescue is like a last-second market save. One touch off the bar, and he claws it back. Give us your risk management take on defending like that under pressure.
big change under the hood. Bosnia bid depth doubles to 115 kias, while price holds 0.43, 0.44. Someone's building a real defensive wall. Draw liquidity also jumps to 86k, so the market's basically hedged. Absolutely. A play like that is a blue chip dividend in real time. It doesn't show up as a goal, but it preserves the whole valuation. You can see it in the tape too. Bosnia's bid depth has doubled, like smart money stepping in after a momentum scare. Bosnia ticks up to 0.45, 0.46, scoreboard confidence rising, but the real tell is Canada bid depth collapsing to under 4k. That's a team with no bench left. If Bosnia presses now, there's not much buy support to stop a momentum run.
IMO, that Kolasinac goal line clearance was a blue chip save. 99 out of 100 it's in. And now Tripak's keeping Bosnia alive. Talk to me about momentum swings like market reversals. How big is that psychologically?
Totally. Those back-to-back saves are a classic V-shaped reversal. Panic selling turns into, we're still in this, buying in seconds. Psychologically, it flips the crowd from certainty to doubt, and that's when the underdog starts playing freer and the favorite tightens up.
Prepo's out like a sweeper keeper, brave as you like. Then the follow-up rattles the frame and everyone's holding their breath. And Kolasinac again, right foot off his own bar. That's not... Demirovic is stamping his name all over this one. Every touch feels like it's got purpose, like he's dragging the game by the collar. And Jonathan David trudging off. That's a big call. Canada reshuffling the deck with plenty of time still to play.
Bosnia's bid depth keeps building 158k now, so there's real support under that 0.45 line. Like a team stacking the midfield to protect a lead, Canada's got a chunky bid sitting at 0.20, so the downside's cushioned, but they still need a catalyst to break. We've got a little fade on Bosnia. Bid slips to 0.44 and the depth thins, so that's profit taking, not panic, but it does cap the upside. Canada holding 0.21, 0.22 says the market's waiting for one big breakaway to reprice fast.
Kolasinac is living a full match in 5 minutes, sets one up at one end, then throws his body in the way at the other. And Crepo, wow, that's a keeper's moment. Big, brave, and absolutely priceless when the game's wobbling. That ricochet was pure fortune for Bosnia, and you could see Kadic light up like he just won a raffle, arms out, roaring at the crowd. Those moments feed a team, and the Bosnia end is absolutely bouncing now.
Bosnia snaps right back to 0.45, 0.46 with bid depth rebuilding. Buyers are defending that level like a back four clearing crosses all day. Canada's still stuck at 0.21, 0.22, and the ask wall is huge, so any rally needs real.
David's got to zip that pass. At this level, you can't gift them a reset. And you're right, Kolasinac must have had flashbacks the second it left his boot, then the bar bails him out, and you can almost hear the sigh from here.
Canada just ticked down a notch to 0.20, 0.21. Small move, but it tells you the late money's leaning defense first and pricing fewer comeback chances. Bosnia staying firm, 0.45, 0.46 with solid bids is the mark. Bosnia just pushed up a tick to 0.46, 0.47, and the bid depth jumps to 169k. Momentum's with the favorite, like they've pinned Canada in their own half. Canada's still heavy on the offer, and even the top bid slid to 0.1, so confidence is leaking.
IMO, this new quick throw directive is like cracking. It's wide open now. Kolasinac is everywhere, but with this tempo, someone else can still grab the cape red or white and blue. Toronto's rocking, Bosnia hanging on by their fingernails at 1-0, and every aerial duel feels like it's got a little bit of destiny in it.
Bosnia's drifting higher again, 8.47, 7.48. But notice the bid depth actually shrank. This is price up on thinner support, a bit of a scoreboard pressure move. Canada's book is the real tell. Bid depth collapses to just 7k, so one sell wave and it's a trap. Now Bosnia's knocking on 0.5, 0.49, 0.5 is a big psychological line, like stepping up for a penalty with the crowd roaring. Canada's down to 2.masa and 0.1, and the bid side is still paper thin, so any bounce looks more.
Crepo's made a meal of it, goes to punch, barely gets a shave, and suddenly you're gifting a set piece in the danger zone. Corner comes in deeper, flicked on, and it sails over. Bosnia breathe again, but that was a warning shot. Every time Horemovic gets them turned, Canada look like they're skating on thin ice. One slip and it's curtains. And here come the changes. Bizarre ready to roll. Maybe they're keeping Dzeko wrapped. Triple change for Canada. This is the manager grabbing the wheel with both hands. Fresh legs, fresh ideas, and with this game crackling, those subs could be the spark that flips the whole script.
Little pullback on Bosnia, 2.48, 0.49. Looks like profit taking right under that 0.50 crossbar. But Canada's bid depth just surged back to 30k and the price ticked up, so you're seeing a quick counterpress rather than a full collapse. Bosnia's back at the doorstep, 0.49, 0.50, and the win prob ticks to 50%. That's the market leaning into the favorite again. But the real story is the draw bid depth ballooning to 86k. Traders are hedging like a team parking the bus for a point while Bosnia tries to finish.
Cornelius hangs it toward Miller, bodies everywhere, and Tahirovic is snapping into the challenge like a man guarding the crown jewels. That's proper defending, no panic, just steel, and it keeps the lid on a moment that was starting to boil. What a run in behind, timed like a thief in the night, and Zarovic has to scramble to cover it. Now Jonathan David drifting wide, sniffing space, and you can feel Canada trying to stretch Bosnia like an elastic band.
Momentum just swung back the other way. Bosnia slips to 0.448, 0.49, while Canada firms up 0.19, 0.2, and that's the underdog winning a few midfield duels. Bosnia bid depth also thins under 100k, so
picked off cleanly over there. Bosnia read it early and just slammed the door shut. Canada had a little rhythm building, and that interception is like a needle to the balloon. Dedic tries to wriggle free, but Tahirovic has to mop it up again. Bosnia are pinned in, can't breathe right now. They'll take that throw in like a lifeline, and it's the perfect pause to get those subs on and reset the heartbeat.
Totally, when the whistle doesn't come, it's like the circuit breaker failing and everyone's trading in fast markets. Smart teams manage it by slowing the tempo, keeping shape, and not chasing every bounce. Same way pros cut leverage when. Yeah, no pause is pure trade through the headline chaos. Prices move first, explanations come later. And pulling David is like yanking your star trader mid.
That is a headline sub. Jonathan David off with the game still twitching. You don't see that every day. Maybe it's legs, maybe it's tactics, but it changes the whole threat profile up top. And Bosnia answering with Djikovic on feels like they're bracing for a scrap in Imo, that ref letting play run before five. That's a bold hook. Dragging the goal scorer and throwing on fresh firepower, you can feel the coach rolling the dice. Samad's got that I fancy this swagger about him, and suddenly the defenders are checking their mirrors. This game's shifting gears again.
Bosnia is holding that 0.51 line, and the bid depth ticks up again. Buyers are defending the lead, not just chasing it. Canada's ask wall balloons to 1.4 M. Exactly, Canada's basically rotating out of its highest beta asset and moving into defense, like shifting from growth to cash when the tape gets ugly. You protect the downside, but you also cap the upside, and the market reads that as we're playing not to lose.
Absolutely, Paraguay later is a proper test, but right now, Canada have to turn this into siege football. You can feel the urgency, get that equalizer, and the whole stadium mood flips like a switch. One clean chance, one rebound, and Tahirovic is throwing his body in front of everything. He's turning this into a one-man brick wall. Canada are knocking and knocking, but every shot lane gets slammed shut like a door in a storm. This is getting frantic now. You can feel it building.
Liquidity just snapped back on Bosnia. Bid depth rebounds hard while the price stays pinned at 51.52, so someone's quietly defending the line. Canada actually ticks down a cent to 15.16, which tells you the underdog hype is fading like a
Ahmed finally wriggles free and you think, here it is, then bang, another heroic block, Muharemovic wearing it like armor. Canada are starting to look like a heavyweight up top now, all muscle and menace, but the box is packed like rush hour traffic.
Bosnia finally leaks the point to 51%, even with decent bid depth. Feels like sellers are leaning on that 52 ask and keeping the favorite boxed in. Canada's bid depth is creeping up while price holds 15 versus 16, so the underdog money's still lurking, just not.
Yeah, with David darting central, those crosses suddenly have teeth. One little glance and it's panic stations for Katic and Muharemovic. But credit to those two, they've been owning the air so far. This front four, though, it's starting to feel like a siege. Oof, that's silky. One of those touches that makes defenders hesitate for half a second, and half a second is everything. The tempo's rising. Canada are smelling it now. If they keep stitching moves like that, something's gonna crack.
Bosnia just got a clean uptick. Bid-ask shifts to 52.53, and bid depth swells. That's the favorite, pushing the line up the pitch. Canada's stuck at 15.16 with heavy offers overhead, so any rally there still looks like a hopeful long ball.
Canada are probing with real purpose now, and you can see the shape, the patience. This is smart football under pressure. Here comes Eustachio, captain's armband burning on his sleeve. If he lets this fly, the stadium holds its breath. That pocket at the D is begging to be hit, but Bosnia are swarming back like bees to honey. No clean sight of goal anywhere. Canada have to be ruthless with that space. One touch too many, and it's gone. This is turning into a proper scrap in the box.
Bosnia's still holding that 2-2-53 spread, and the bid depth keeps building. Momentum's with the favorite, and buyers are stepping in like a team protecting a one-goal lead. Canada slips to 15%, and the top bid even drops to 13%. So the mark... Whoa! Bosnia just gave back the move, sliding to 51-52, and bid depth gets cut in half, so that defense we saw just stepped off the field. Draw ticks up to 34%, which is the market saying this could get scrappy, and volatility's back on the menu.
That delivery had danger written all over it, but Bosnia read it early. Devic sharp as a hawk, and the header just doesn't have the killer bite. Another last-ditch intervention, and you can feel them clinging to that clean sheet dream with both hands. Canada are piling on pressure, but Bosnia's backline keeps bailing them out. One clearance just saved a ball that looked destined to drop in. Feels like a stock holding a key support level. Bend, but not break. Got a quick market analogy for this siege?
Totally. This is like a crowded short trying to press the price down, but there's a big passive buyer sitting on the bid and absorbing every hit. Bosnia's clearances are that hidden liquidity. One slip and you get a fast gap move. Now you're seeing that siege show up on the tape. Canada ticks up to 16-17 while Bosnia can't reclaim the 52-53, and Bosnia bid depth is getting thin fast. That's the favorite support level wobbling. If it cracks the draw and Canada get a quick momentum pop.
Eustachio does the
Yeah, this is late game vault. Every Canadian attack is a headline risk handle, and Bosnia's price holds only because liquidity keeps showing up at support. Hedging here is scoring again. Push the line up and you force shorts to cover instead of letting one bounce beside it. Bosnia just reclaims the 52-53 and Keitel bid depth snaps back up, so that dip got bought like a clean tackle in the box. Canada fades back to 15-16 and the draw cools too, so the market's leaning false alarm on that pressure spell.
IMO. Bosnia are defending like a blue chip under siege. Canada's pressure is relentless. Supporters are sweating. Give us a quick market volatility take on this late game tension and whether Bosnia should hedge by going for a second goal.
Bosnia's drifting higher, 253-54. Markets rewarding the game management, and Canada's back to 14-15, so that comeback bid is losing oxygen. But don't get comfy. The book's still lopsided on the offer side, so one big sell can swing this like a lake.
Richie Laria digs in, then it's chaos. Johnson nearly sneaks in behind, but Kolasinac hangs it up, and Crepeau says, "Thank you very much." Now Cone and Eustachio are turning this into a track meet. 4 shirts bursting forward. Bosnia wobbling here.
We've got a little mean reversion. Bosnia slips back to 52-53, but Canada's bid depth just doubled, and the top bid steps up to 14, so the underdog's building a base. That's the crowd loading up for one last push. If Bosnia concedes a big chance, this...
Ahmed's got that spark. Every touch feels like it could light the fuse, but Maharam stands him up and snuffs it out. And the whistle goes free kick, and the keeper gathers like he's claiming a paycheck. Bosnia will love that breather. You can feel the stadium leaning forward now. Canada are turning the screw and the crowd starting to roar them on. One slick touch and suddenly it's panic stations at the back. Every clearance feels like it's off balance. This is getting tasty.
Bosnia's back to 53-54, but notice the bid depth is thinning, less cushion if a shock hits, while Canada can't lift off 14-15. This feels like stoppage time with a 1-goal lead, stable until it isn't, and then the move is violent. Nailed it, Leo. Those pauses reset the tape, and the side with the lead usually gets to reprice confidence first. Defensive stock move here is Bosnia turning into a low beta utility. Slow, boring, but hard to knock over unless Canada... Bosnia firms up again at 53-54, and the bid depth jumps to 181k. That's real support stepping in, like fresh legs shoring up the back line. Canada leaks to 13-14, so the market's basically saying the equalizer window is narrowing fast. That Bosnia bid depth ripping up to 250k is the tell. Buyers are stacking the wall like a team protecting a 1-goal lead with bodies in the box. Canada's still stuck at 13-14, and even the top bid slid to 12, so the market's fading the miracle run.
IMO, that hydration break feels like a market halt. Bosnia clinging to a 1-0 lead after a massive veteran clearance. How do you see momentum swings like this, and what's your defensive stock analogy for shutting down a late surge?
Bosnia is still pinned at 53.54, but that bid depth keeps swelling, now 256k, so buyers are happy to absorb any wobble without moving the price. Canada's stuck at 13.14 with a softer top bid, which screams late surge hopes are getting marked down.
IMO, we've hit a hydration break and the broadcast just slammed in a pharma ad. Can you riff on how these sponsorship/ads are like market volatility and what it means for sports media money?
Totally, Leo. Ads are like volatility spikes. They show up when attention is hottest and everyone's watching the tape. Sports media money is basically selling liquidity in eyeballs, and pharma loves it because the audience is captive and predictable. Bosnia's price won't budge off D3/54, but the bid depth keeps creeping higher, 258k now. So the market's basically building a moat under that favorite. Draw liquidity is inching up too, which tells you hedgers are positioning for a nervy finish, not
IMO, we've just had a hydration break and the broadcast veered into ads, KFC meal and a pharma spot. Give us your quick take on how these sponsorships and ad reads are basically the match's commercial halftime for revenue and whether brands like this actually move the needle.
Yeah, Leo, that's the match's mini IPO window. Networks monetize peak attention while the ball's out of play. KFC is pure mass reach frequency, pharma is high margin targeting. Both move the needle when the moment's big, like buying ads at the top of volume. Exactly, Leo. That's like a calm CPI print followed by a surprise Fed headline. Spreads tighten, then bang, everyone reprices in one heartbeat. The big save is your circuit breaker moment, stopping a full-on sell-off and resetting sentiment instantly. Bosnia ticks up a cent to 54.55, but here's the tell. Bid depth keeps bleeding, down to 169k, so the move feels more like a thin book drift than real conviction. If Canada gets one decent chance, this favorite can gap like a defender caught upfield.
IMO, that hydration break felt like a market halt. Bosnia protecting a 1-0 lead, sprinklers on, everyone cooling off. Any quick take on how teams should manage the clock, like managing volatility?
Totally, Leo. When you're up 1-0, you don't need hero ball, you need possession and low-risk passes. Same way a trader cuts leverage and widens stops in a choppy tape. Clock management is basically volatility management. Slow the game, force the other
IMO, Canada are piling into the box, 32 touches, but Bosnia are up 1-0 like a stock rallying on low volume. What's your take on possession without profit and when the market punishes waste?
Yep, Leo. Possession without a shot on target is like lots of trading with no net buying. It looks busy, but price doesn't care. The punishment comes when fatigue hits and one turnover becomes a clean counter and suddenly the tape gaps again.
Canada are turning the screw now. You can feel it in the air. Every pass has a bit more bite, every run a bit more belief. Ahmed's come on like a shot of espresso, driving at them, asking questions Bosnia don't want to answer. One clean delivery, one brave touch, and this...
Bosnia firms 255.56, but Canada just got marked down to 11.12. Markets basically saying pressure, sure, but no finishing. Still, with Bosnia bid depth only 100. Totally, Leo. Brazil's the mega cap. If they start sharp, everything else reprices around them in minutes. Fastest riser is the underdog that scores first. Momentum traders pile in like a breakaway goal.
That's Bosnia shutting the door with a deadbolt, fresh legs, more steel, and a clear message. Come and break us down. Canada have to crank the tempo even higher now because that back line just got an extra layer of armor.
Bosnia edges up to 56% and the spread stays tight at 55.56. Steady hands, but not exactly a runaway. Canada's back to 12.13, so there's still a live upset bid, yet the real tell is liquidity.
Ali Begovic on at 18. Love that. Throw the kid into the fire and see if he sparks. If he's as direct as you say, Canada's fullbacks better keep their heads on a swivel because youthful fearlessness can be a nightmare to defend. Tomorrow's triple header feels like a trading day. Brazil finally opening their campaign is the blue chip everyone's watching. Give us your market movers take. Which team's stock rises fastest and who's overvalued heading into these games?
Now Bosnia's 56%, but no.
Yeah, it's that little countdown clock for the benches. 5 bullets in the chamber, and every tick changes the story. You can almost see the coaches weighing it up. Chase the equalizer now or save one last roll of the dice for the final 10.
Big change is the support. Bosnia bid depth just doubled to 200k, and the market's willing to pay up at 57.58, so the favorite's getting real backing now. Canada's still stuck at 11.12. Feels like the crowd stopped believing in the comeback run. We've got a quiet but a meaningful drift. Bosnia's implied up to 58%, while price still sits 57.58. Buyers are leaning in without chasing. Canada and the draw barely budge, so this feels like controlled possession, not a full-on counterattack market. Bosnia just ticked up again, now 58.59, and that's the market paying a premium for control, with bid depth still north of 200K. Canada leaking to 10-11 tells you the upset crowd's getting benched, even though there's still plenty of hope liquidity.
15 to go, and it's still hanging by a thread. Canada knocked. Kyle Lauren coming on. Now that's a proper statement. A big body with a big nose for goals. If Canada are going to rescue this, they need someone who lives for scraps in the box and turns half chances into headlines.
Bosnia's probability nudges up again, but the bid depth slips back under 180K. So the scoreboard says stronger favorite, yet the defense in front of that price is thinning. That's classic late game nerves. One sharp Canada headline, and you could see a quick air.
He'll be kicking himself for that one. Those are the moments that haunt you when you're chasing a game, but that Cruyff turn showed the confidence is there, and confidence is dangerous when the clock's screaming at you.
Bosnia's pushed up to 59.60, but look at that bid depth, down to about 111K, so the price is higher on thinner footing. That's a team pressing forward with fewer defenders back. Any surprise Canada momentum, and this could gap fast. Now Bosnia's up at 60-61 with win odds 61%, and the bid depth refills to 187K. This is the favorite re-establishing a solid backline. Canada's bid depth collapsing under 13K is capitulation vibes. The upset trade is basic.
Lauren's numbers scream pedigree, but that drought is like a weight on his shoulders. One touch in the right spot and it all disappears. And Ahmed, oh, he's got swagger outside of the boot delivery like he's painting. Now Canada have to feed the big man and flood that box.
Bosnia holds that 60-61 line, but the bid depth eases a bit, still supportive, just not a stampede. Canada ticking back to 10-11 with better bid depth, looks like bargain hunters stepping in. The classic down 2 goals but still taking shots trade.
Absolutely. Get him higher and let him conduct, because he's the one who can slip a pass through a keyhole. If Canada keep him stuck too deep, it's like buying a sports car and never leaving first gear. AMO Canada just equalized in Toronto. Stadium erupts. Ryan Reynolds going wild. Super sub Kyle Lauren with a massive finish. Give me your market reaction take. Momentum swing, pressure.
That equalizer is a full momentum flip. Markets love a comeback story, and you can feel the crowd turning into liquidity chasing the upside. Bosnia's safe lead premium evaporates fast, and suddenly the draw becomes the new anchor price. Like a
Cole's driving now. Head up, defenders backpedaling. This is where legs turn to jelly.
Yeah, that celebrity surge is like a surprise earnings beat. Confidence jumps, volume follows, and suddenly everyone believes in the comeback script. Wrexham Magic is pure sentiment beta. It doesn't change fundamentals, but it can absolutely change the next 5 minutes. Draw's still the heavyweight at 60-61, and the bid depth actually thickened. Markets basically parking the bus on no winner. Canada's up a tick to 28-29, but on thinner bids, so it's more momentum chatter than real conviction. While Bosnia at 11...
IMO, Toronto just erupted. Canada equalizer off the bench. Ryan Reynolds celebrating like he's rung the opening bell. Give us the market metaphor. Momentum swing, pressure, and that buy the dip striker vibe.
Absolutely. This is pure buy the dip energy. One super sub goal and the crowd turns into a risk on stampede. Bosnia's lead premium gets sold like a shaky defender on a yellow, and the draw becomes the new safe haven. Now the draw is getting marked up to 62-63. Classic protect the point pricing as traders crowd into the middle outcome. Canada cools back to 28-29 and Bosnia's bid depth collapses. So liquidity's thinning and any next headline could gap this like a...
IMO, that goal was pure instant impact. First touch, bang. Give me your market analogy. Is this the classic late game catalyst that flips sentiment in 10 minutes?
Exactly. This is the Fed headline 8:20 p.m. moment. One touch and the whole tape reprices. Short scramble, spreads widen, and the market stops debating narratives and starts chasing the new trend.
IMO, Toronto's rocking after that super sub goal. Impact like a blue chip stock popping on earnings. Give us a quick market style take. Momentum swing. Who's buying this comeback in the last minutes?
Totally. This is late game momentum money piling in. Canada and the draw are the risk on trades, with depth surging like institutions finally hitting the bid. Bosnia is staying a penny stock here, cheap, but nobody's stepping in size unless
The bench has flipped the script completely. Fresh legs, sharper minds, and suddenly every pass has venom on it. That little ball around the corner is pure top-level craft, and now it's down to millimeters. One step, one touch, one moment decides everything.
Canada's ticking back up to 29.30, and you can see real bids sitting higher, 80.27. Someone's leaning in like a team pressing for a late winner, but the draw is still the heavyweight with the deepest liquidity, so the market's saying control the clock.
They're moving it first time now. Zip, zip, zip. No one's got a second to breathe. That's when defenses panic, legs start dangling, and you just sense one more chance is about to crack this wide open. IMO, that deflection is like a late earning surprise. Keeper wrong-footed, stadium erupts. Give us your market volatility take on how one tiny touch can swing everything in the final minutes.
Absolutely. One deflection is the market's thin liquidity wick. Fundamentals didn't change, but positioning did, and price gaps instantly. In the final minutes, everyone's trading emotion and time decay, so a tiny touch becomes a full-blown volatility spike.
IMO, Canada's got all the momentum late, feels like a market rally after a surprise beat. How do you read this swing when the ref flips a decision and the crowd's roaring?
Yep, that's a sentiment regime change. One whistle and the whole tape reprices like a Fed headline hitting mid-rally. The crowd's the retail flow here, chasing momentum, but the pros watch for the snapback if the next sequence doesn't convert.
Canada's momentum is surging. Subs change the tempo. Two strikers pinning the back line, and it feels like a late winter market. Volatility up, pressure compounding. Give us your closing bell take on how momentum swings like a rally. You'd lean Canada. Absolutely, there's a swagger in their press and a bite in every second ball right now. But football's a cruel little casino, my friend. One Bosnia counter, one loose touch, and the script flips in a heartbeat. Marsh has rolled the dice and it's come up sixes. Fresh legs, fresh ideas, and suddenly Canada looked twice as sharp in the final third. And listen to the boos for the cramp, classic crowd impatience. But in this heat, your calves can turn into concrete in a blink.
We're seeing a tiny drift toward Canada and the draw. Canada ticks down to 28-29 while the draw holds to 63. So the market's basically pricing pressure, but no finish. Bosnia is still stranded 8-8-9 with shallow.
He's milking every second he can, but you can't blame him. He's run himself into the ground out there. The bench has seen it too. That little signal says it all. Fresh legs incoming because the tank is empty now.
Bosnia gets a tiny sympathy bid back to 9-10, but it's still all air underneath, more like a dead cat bounce than real belief. Canada and the draw are steady, which screams possession without payoff, like a team camping in the final third but not getting the shot.
Armband passed on, and that's a big leadership switch with the game balanced on a razor's edge. One wobble and it's curtains. Johnston keeps it moving, and you can feel the tension rising with every touch now.
Draw just got more expensive at 63-65, and that wider spread tells you traders are bracing for a choppy final stretch. Nobody wants to be the one selling insurance too cheap. Canada slipping to 27-28 feels like a tired press. Lots of running, not enough end product. Whoa, Bosnia just caught a real bid up to 11-12 and Canada leaked to 26-27. That's a momentum swing like a counterpunch after absorbing pressure. But notice the depth evaporated across the board, so this move can snap back fast if the next attack fizzles.
Oh, that miscue just opened a little crack, and Bosnia are trying to squeeze through it like water under a door. Laria is scrambling to recover, and now you can sense the danger building as they drive forward.
That Bosnia pop just got completely sold back down to 8-8-9. Classic head fake, like a winger beating one man then losing it on the touchline. Draw is back to 64-65 with heavy offers, so the crowd's leaning stalemate and fading any upset narrative.
Corner at last, and you can feel the stadium inhale. This is Bosnia's first real squeeze on that Canada backline in ages. Canada have been comfortable sitting in, but set pieces are where comfort turns to chaos. This delivery has to be dealt with cleanly. Oh, he sliced it horribly. Fresh off the bench and the boot betrays him, but somehow it loops back into the mixer and Canada have to stay switched on. And Laria, credit where it's due, he's been a steady engine all night doing the dirty work.
Draw keeps grinding higher, 265-66. This is the market parking the bus and daring someone to break it. Canada's bid firm to touch, but Bosnia liquidity is paper thin, so any real Bosnia momentum would gap this thing like a bad defensive line.
5 minutes left, and it's pure nerve now. Every clearance feels like a lottery ticket, and every touch could be the one that breaks hearts. Oh, and this is where legs go heavy and minds go louder than the crowd.
Bosnia is now down to 7-8, and the bid depth is basically a puddle. One decent sell, and it's through the floor. Meanwhile, the draw is getting priced like the favorite at 66-67, and Canada's just stuck in midfield, not breaking either way.
Stoppage time stretching. Hydration breaks, subs could be 5 to 6 plus. Canada's momentum feels like a late rally. Any quick analogy to markets in the final minutes?
Totally. Those extra minutes are like an earnings call Q&A that runs long. Volatility spikes because everyone's repricing the last headline. Late Canada pressure is a risk-on squeeze, but one Bosnia counter is the classic rug pull in thin liquidity. Draw just got marked up again, 67 bid, 69 ask, so the market's basically pricing no late winner as the base case. Canada slipping to 24-25 tells you that late rally narrative is getting faded, and Bosnia is still a thin book where any headline could cause a
43,002 in the smallest World Cup ground, and it's still roaring like a giant. What a crackling atmosphere. And that's top-class defending to snuff out the corner, Kaddish reading it early and doing the simple things brilliantly under pressure.
Now it's full 0-0 energy. Draw 8-69-70 and Canada's been marked down hard to 21-22 like the market's calling time on the comeback. Bosnia ticking up a penny is noise. There's no real depth, so it's still one spark away from a whipsaw.
Canada are pushing for a historic first World Cup Finals win. Momentum swinging late, Bosnia looking leggy. Any quick market close analogy for this kind of late surge in risk?
Yeah, this is the last 5 minutes into the closing auction. Flows matter more than fundamentals and spreads get jumpy. Canada's surge is a classic late-day squeeze, but if Bosnia nicks one counter, it's a gap down you can't hedge fast enough. Draw is still the heavyweight at 70-71, but Canada just caught a tiny bid back to 22-23. Someone's taking a late punt. Bosnia drifting to 7-8 tells you the market sees their win as a low-probability counterpunch, not sustained pressure.
Amo, crowd's electric and the refs becoming the main character, feels like a late market moving decision incoming. What's your take on how one whistle can swing momentum like a sudden earnings surprise?
Bosnia just got absolutely derated, down to 5-6, and the bid depth collapsed, so nobody wants to stand in front of that train. Draw is still the crowded trade at 70-72, but Canada holding toe 23 says the only real upset risk left is a late Canadian.
He's managed it well, kept the whistle in his pocket and let the game breathe, and you can feel the players feeding off that edge. Now Canada are snapping into tackles and pushing on again. Ahmed on it, and this crowd is ready to explode.
Draw just tightened its grip, 73-74 with a big bid stack. This is the market, parking the bus and daring anyone to break it. Canada slipping to 20-21 says the late surge narrative cooled, while Bosnia 8-6-7 is basically a lottery. This is pure protect the point pricing. Draw up at 74-75 and the bid depth keeps fattening, so the crowd's leaning hard into stalemate. Canada leaking to 18-19 tells you the late winner odds are fading, while Bosnia 8-5-6 is just a desperation counterattack.
That delivery was all wrong and Bosnia just thumped it clear, wasted chance when the crowd's begging for one perfect ball. But you're right, get Ahmed involved and suddenly it's fireworks. This has turned into a proper street fight out there. No, absolutely, IMO. One dead ball swing and the whole market reprices in a heartbeat. The draw evaporates like it never existed. Now Canada's got to manage the clock like a blue chip protecting earnings, while Bosnia are basically throwing Hail Marys and hoping for a
Now the draw's not just favored, it's getting scarce. 75-76 with much thinner ask depth, so any urgency could spike it like a late game time-wasting masterclass. Canada's still the only real alternative at 19-20, while
Saunas would love this, no frills, just bite and bravery in the middle, and that sub's got a touch of Modric about him. Head up, gliding into pockets like he's got a map of the pitch in his boot. Leo here. Eustachio's late free kick just flew in. Stadium erupts. That's a potential historic first World Cup Finals win for Canada. Give us your market reaction take on the momentum swing and pressure now.
goal is the ultimate liquidity shock. Draw gets smoked instantly, and Canada gaps up as everyone chases the new favorite. Crowd momentum now flips to hold the lead psychology. Bosnia's only trade is a desperate equalizer lottery.
6 minutes of pure nerve. This is where legs turn to jelly and heroes get minted. Cones charging on like a late surge in stoppage time, and Bosnia have to throw everything forward now. What a story he's written out there. 20 years old and playing like a seasoned pro, calm as a metronome in midfield. And now the skipper makes way, Osorio on his birthday. You can feel the stadium holding its breath, begging for one magic touch. Bizarre driving, trying to twist the knife with that little roll, silky stuff, but the defender reads it like tomorrow's headlines and snaps the door shut again. Canada's back line is standing tall here. Every tackle feels like a mini goal.
Draws now 81-82. This is the market parking the bus and daring anyone to break it down. Canada at 13-14 is basically one goal lead, but don't get cute. And Bosnia staying with 5 tells you nobody's pricing a comeback run, just a punt. Draw ripping to 84-85 is pure clock management pricing. Market thinks this match is being shepherded to the whistle. Canada getting hit down to 10-12 feels like traders fading the fairy tale and hedging the nerves because one sloppy turnover and the whole stadium tightens.
Oh, this is pure Hollywood. Local lad, birthday candle still warm, and the script's dangling a hero moment right in front of him. But that whistle has the crowd boiling, booze raining down like a storm, and this set piece suddenly feels dangerously alive.
Draw 8-86-87 is the market basically calling stoppage time no drama, and that's when the crowd gets nervy because everyone's waiting for the one random bounce. Canada holding 10-11 says believers are still there, but it's thin. One Bosnia.
He's lining it up like he's got ice in his veins. No panic, just focus. But easy is a trap in these moments. One swing of the boot and the whole night can flip on its head. Crowd's furious over that whistle. No intent, just contact. Feels like a market overreaction moment. Jump in with your take on how pressure swings decisions and momentum.
Totally. Refs are like markets. They don't price intent, they price risk. And a loud stadium widens the spread fast. That fury can flip momentum into sloppy tackles and panic clearances, and that's when the underdog nicking one starts to feel live. Canada just leaked to 8-9 while the draw stays pinned at 86-87. Classic risk-off rotation as traders stop dreaming and start protecting. Bosnia 83-4 is still a dead ticket, but in these spots all it takes is one set piece and the whole book lurches.
That one just drifts out like a balloon losing air, and you can hear the groan, wasted territory. But Canada keeps snapping into the duels, Laren linking it nicely, and now the refs reaching for the pocket. Someone's in trouble here.
Draw just tightened up to 88-89. This is the market saying, we're in stoppage time mode, protect the lead, kill the clock. Canada ticking back to 9-10 is a little hope trade, but Bosnia still 3-4 tells you nobody's buying the miracle. Now it's full-on bunker pricing. Draw 89 answer 90, and Canada sliding to 7-8. Traders are basically kneeling the ball and running out the clock. Bosnia stuck 8-3-4 with almost no bid depth tells you nobody wants to be the hero catching that falling knife. Draws now 90-91, and the depth collapsed. This is late game.
Lawrence has come on like a man with a point to prove. Every touch is a little message to Jesse Marsh. Don't park me again. And with 3 minutes left, you can feel Canada's control, but Bosnia's bite. They're a brick wall with elbows. Nobody gets an easy dance with them.
That draw just surged to 93-94. This is the market parking the bus and daring anyone to break it down. Canada getting marked down to 5-6 says the comeback crowd's finally running out of oxygen, while Bosnia 82-3 is still just a prayer and a punt.
Osorio's trying to write the front page there, slides it wide, and Ahmed fizzes into life, but the keeper reads it like tomorrow's paper and smothers the danger. David's lunging, stretching, just a whisker short. That's a big intervention.
This is getting illiquid fast. Bosnia bid depth is basically pocket change, and even the draw book is thinning out, so any decent-sized order can move price like a deflection goal. Draw still 3.94, but that 2.96 offers stack scream.
It's had that proper opening day edge, hasn't it? Nerves in the legs, but fire in the tackles, and this crowd refusing to let it go flat. Canada have shaded it, made more, but the clock's a ruthless defender. One last twist, maybe, as Cornelius steps. Final minute now. This is where you throw the kitchen sink, the toaster, the whole apartment at it. One clean delivery, one loose touch, and suddenly it's either glory or heartbreak in a heartbeat.
Bosnia has literally no bid. Markets basically red-carded that outcome. You can't even get a price to sell into. Draws pinned at 94.95 with heavier bid than ask. So the crowd's leaning, nothing changes, and daring Canada 83.4 to find.
That last-ditch block was like a blue-chip stock holding the line in a market crash. Pure defensive value under pressure. Give us your quick risk management take as the stadium nearly exploded.
Absolutely, Leo. When the crowd's roaring like that, you don't chase the spike, you protect the downside and respect the spread. With Bosnia showing no bid, it's a one-way book. The only smart play is sizing small and staying liquid, like seeing out stoppage time.
That block is pure last-ditch heroism. Throws himself in like he's protecting the crown jewels, and the stadium gasps in unison. Larrier has been electric, but those Bosnia center halves have been living in the firing line, stacking blocks like they're on commission. IMO Canada are throwing everything in for a last gasp winner. Keeper's been quiet thanks to heroic blocks. Give me a quick market-style take. Who's the blue-chip defender here and why?
Yeah, Leo, the blue chip here is the draw. Steady, liquid, and everyone crowds into it when chaos hits. Those blocks are like a market maker absorbing buy pressure. They keep price anchored while Canada's risk-on push runs out of time. Draw's bid just keeps stacking. $500,000 leaning on 20.99 and still no ask. That's pure game over pricing. Canada and Bosnia both sitting offer only at a penny tells you nobody's even pretending there's a comeback. It's parked like a bus in the 90th.
No free kick, no late miracle. Johnston's pleading, but the ref's having none of it, and that's the final whistle. A point each, and honestly, it feels fair. Bosnia's blocks were brick walls. Canada's response had real bite. Toronto's had its money's worth tonight.
This is as lopsided as it gets. Draw is bid only at 0.99 with zero offers, so price discovery is basically done. Meanwhile, Canada and Bosnia are just dead money at a penny ask, like two teams shaking hands before the whistle. You're seeing the cleanup crew now. Ask depth on both teams just got pulled down hard, but still nobody's stepping in to buy them. Draw remains the only real market. 0.99 bid with size, like a team killing the clock in the corner and the defense just watching. The only real action is still on the draw, 7.99 bid holding with chunky size, and no one brave enough to show an offer. The losing side's asks keep thinning, which is just late sellers realizing they're offside and sprinting for the exit. Little tell here, draw bid depth just slipped from the 520s to about 482K, so some winners are taking chips off the table even at 0.99. But with Canada and Bosnia still bidless at a penny, the crowd's saying no late equalizer, just a bit of profit.